ABC Listen. Podcasts, radio, news, music and more.
So it came down to a choice between the embarrassment of hosting the games at Cusack or a new stadium at Victoria Park. It became a choice between spending billions on temporary facilities and temporary stands that delivered no legacy or securing the future of AFL and cricket at a new home. It became a choice between delivering a games with an eye to the future or rewinding the clock 4 decades. In the end, the choice was clear. The games must be held at a new stadium at Victoria Park.
That is Queensland Premier David Crisafulli announcing a new stadium in the Brisbane suburb of Victoria Park for the 2032 Games. It represents a jewel in their Olympic crown, as well as a broken election promise. It's just one of a raft of venues announced for the Brisbane Games. There is finally a plan. Is it a good one? That's going to become clearer in the weeks and months ahead as every detail is scrutinised. Today, we're just trying to understand what's been promised and how the sports community might be reacting. I'm Patrick Stack. This is ABC Sport Daily. We're going to hear from Brisbane-based Simon Smale, who just covered the Paris Olympics, and Kate Campbell, who's an Olympic legend and all-round smart cookie. Simon leading us off. What are the headline venues that Brisbane has decided they're actually going to deliver for 2032?
Yeah, big day for Queensland because there's going to be a lot of venues. But the key factors, the key takeaways, for me anyway, a brand new stadium at Victoria Park, 63,000. Very, very close to that is the new aquatic centre, which is going to be built on the site of the current centenary swimming pool. Funnily enough, that's the pool that I normally swim at, so I'm quite looking forward to that getting an upgrade. But that's going to become the home of aquatic sport in Australia. It's going to have 25,000 seats, multiple pools.
The centre will see a number of Olympic and Paralympic sports move their headquarters up to Brisbane permanently. A real world-class legacy which will serve these sports for decades to come.
The RNA Showgrounds, that's going to be turned into a 20,000-seat venue and the Athletes' Village. So originally that was proposed to host the equestrian. Well, that's not going to happen now. That's going to go out to Toowoomba. A little bit of a distance to go, about an hour away from Brisbane. And again, with the improved transport links that were touted as well, that might be pretty good.
It is our position that if investment comes from across the state, then the benefits and excitement should be spread across the state. So what does that mean? It means that we'll be taking the 2032 Games to regional Queensland.
Another key factor was the Queensland Tennis Centre getting an upgrade. That'll be a brand new 3,000-seat show court, presumably it'll be called the Ash Barty Court, to go alongside Pat Rafter Arena. Pat Rafter Arena only holds 5,500. That's very small for Olympic tennis tournaments. I'm not entirely sure whether there's an upgrade to the main Pat Rafter Arena as well, just to bring that up a little bit. But yeah, those are the key takeaways from a Brisbane perspective anyway.
So the main stadium is obviously going to be totemic for a host of reasons, and it also spells the end of the Gabba redevelopment as the main site. What does it mean more broadly for what we're going to see happen to the Gabba?
Looking through all the documents, the Gabba is going to remain a cricket and AFL venue right up until 2032. From a disruption perspective for the major sports, AFL and cricket, that's actually pretty good news. Sure, the Gabba is considered to be quite tired now. It's going to be very, very sleepy by the time 2032 comes around. But that will be the final act of the Gabba.
The vision our government has beyond the Games also includes the Gabba coming down to make way for urban renewal beside a world-class arena. Wouldn't it be amazing to see the Australian cricket team win gold at an Olympic final, the Gabba's swan song?
We're told it's going to be a real legacy area from the Olympics because, as soon as 2032 is over, it's going to be torn up, and the AFL and the Queensland cricket team are going to relocate to the brand new Victoria Park complex.
Can you explain why crocodiles and rowing and Brisbane Organising Committee boss Andrew Liveris will be one of the breakout stories from today's announcement?
So this, the Premier, Chris Foley, said multiple times that this is a Queensland Games. One of the key takeaways was that the rowing is going to be held up in Rockhampton on the Fitzroy River. Now, the Fitzroy River, for those who don't know, and indeed who aren't particularly aware of where Rockhampton is, it's up towards the central part of Queensland, slightly further up the coast, and that is crocodile country. And so the Fitzroy River is known as crocodile habitat. Again, there might be a fair amount of a beat up about this.
There's sharks in the ocean, right? And we still do sailing, and we still do surfing. Creatures below the water, Okay, are they going to come up and eat canoeists and rowers? I think that's a bit kind of Hollywoodish, right? We'll leave that for LA to worry about.
I don't think the rowers are going to have to be dodging crocodiles as they're doing their training runs. This is where the Australian team have prepared for the last 2 Olympics on the Fitzroy River. That's not to say that it's not going to be a story. Everyone loves the idea of Queenslanders and crocodiles, and Steve Irwin, of course, who did make an appearance in the video that spruiked this announcement. It's going to be a bone of contention. But, I mean, let's be honest, the triathlon and marathon swimming is going to be held in the Gold Coast, and I seem to think that there's quite a few dangerous animals swimming around those canals and out offshore there as well in terms of bull sharks. So it's just part of Australia's charm, isn't it?
It certainly is. When the Brisbane Organising Committee boss, Andrew Liveris, said at one point...
I mean, President Trump, in this new manifestation, is taking care, in his view, of America. America first. And the rest of the world, get used to it. Queenslanders are being taken care of, the leadership of Queensland.
I thought it summed up the patriotic nature of the event. And fair enough, it is the Queensland Olympics or Brisbane Olympics. Whether it was that sizzle reel you talk about with Steve Irwin wrestling a croc, or Origin highlights, or the fact that they've spurned existing Australian infrastructure like Melbourne Park for the tennis, or Penrith's whitewater rafting setup, or the rowing centre in Sydney. Did it feel at all borderline combative to you? It was like, no, we're doing this our way.
I think there is an element of that, and I don't necessarily think that's unusual. I think that, this is the biggest show on earth, the Olympic Games. Everyone's looking, and everyone wants to show off their particular part of the world. They want to show off their city. Queensland's taken a route whereby it's going to show off the entire state, and Queensland's a big state. There's an awful lot of space, an awful lot of people here to be able to take the Games to, which presumably is one of the main reasons as to why they didn't want to take the tennis down to Melbourne. They didn't want the whitewater rafting and the rowing down in New South Wales either. Queenslanders are known to be a little bit bullish about their state and bullish about their own achievements.
When the eyes of the world turn to Queensland, let them see the great people that call this state home. Let them see we're not Paris, we're not LA. This will be better. And it'll be the Queensland way. There's
an element of almost backs against the wall as well. I mean, in terms of Summer Olympics, this is the smallest city to have hosted a summer game since Helsinki in 1952. There's almost a little bit of, we can do this. Sydney, you've had an Olympics. Melbourne, you've had an Olympics. It's our turn now. I think that there's a little bit of that. There's a little bit of that, I guess, pig-headedness, you can call it perhaps, or maybe it's just state pride.
What we've talked about today, in many regards, Simon, sounds dreamy in a good way. But what about from a fiscal perspective? It sounds expensive. How much is this going to cost? How are they going to pay for it?
I mean, in short, it's going to cost a lot. Every Olympics costs a lot, right? This is one of the great albatrosses that hangs around the necks of Olympic cities. The infrastructure has been mooted to cost $7.1 billion.
First is the report does outline the cost of the stadium, and it's about $3.75 billion. Now, there is the opportunity for private sector investment, but to be clear, that isn't required to stay within the $7.1 billion. So we've mapped out a plan to deliver that.
As with all of these things, I'd be staggered if the infrastructure comes in under $7.1 billion. I imagine there'll be a little bit of blowout. I think that's pretty standard with these things. That doesn't make it any better or any more right, but it is a lot of money. Premier Chris Foley said that everything is allocated, all the funding has been allocated from state and federal government coffers. A lot of money. I imagine there will be blowouts, but the Olympics and the Olympic movement is certainly trying to move away from these huge, expensive blowouts, because otherwise it's going to be harder and harder to get people to want to host an Olympic Games in the first place.
Simon Smale, thanks for getting us across some of the detail. Appreciate it.
No problem at all. Anytime.
Kate Campbell is an Olympic legend. She's also a proud Queenslander. We've seen her vocally previously calling for both sides of politics to unite, deliver the best possible games. So I found it really interesting that she was part of the team speaking to today's presentation. Kate, you don't lend your voice lightly. So what was it about this pitch that made you willing to be part of a team, effectively, whether you like it or not, selling it?
Well, I think that this is an important step, not just for Brisbane, but the whole of southeast Queensland. And so I felt it was a really important room to be in. We were only privy to the exact details literally moments before getting on stage. But can I just say that they are big and they are bold, and history favours and remembers the bold. And I think that this will deliver lasting legacy impact for sporting communities, for infrastructure upgrades, for not just Brisbane, not just southeast Queensland, but the whole of Queensland as a state.
But friends, we've always said the Olympic and Paralympic Games must be more than just a sporting event. It must deliver generational infrastructure to make this state a better one before, during, after the Games.
It's phenomenal to hear words like we're going to start breaking soil, and to hear a bit of a concrete plan and proper commitments to making these Brisbane Games happen.
And I can assure you we are going to begin immediately, and we are going to remove whatever roadblocks it comes, but we are going to get on with it.
You've been to 4 games as a competitor, 1 as a commentator. You understand what makes a great Olympics better than almost anyone out there because of the breadth of your experience. Can you share with us what makes a great Games, and why does this plan facilitate that for Brisbane?
I think there are lots of different aspects when you're looking at a successful Games. I think first and foremost, you have to put the athlete experience at the heart of it. If the athletes are happy and if they are given the opportunity and the facilities to perform at their best, that is when you just see the whole world ignite. And the stadiums that have been promised, the National Aquatic Centre that has been promised, all go a really, really long way to doing that.
That's delivering legacy for the future, and I confirm it will be the best aquatic centre in the globe.
The next thing is accessibility and making sure that you bring the host city and the host regions along for the journey. My favourite Olympic Games was actually the Paris Olympic Games, and that was because it ignited the city. You could easily get around if you were an athlete or if you were a spectator. Even if you couldn't get into a stadium and watch an event, there were live sites. The whole city was a buzz and a light, because they had made sure that they engaged with the public and really brought them along for the ride. And it was just a time of pure joy in a city that is, renowned for being a little bit grouchy and a bit grey.
I mean, it's interesting you mentioned Paris, and I feel like the challenge for this Olympics is they're coming off Paris, LA, iconic global cities, known iconic landmarks left and right. Those who lived in Sydney leading into 2000 will know about the duality of the fear of cost blowouts and the fear of being a global laughingstock. Is there part of you, when you think about the global nature of those 2 previous cities that will lead into Brisbane, that as a Queenslander who's proud and wants the best for your state, are you a little bit scared?
Well, look, I think that let's flip that question. We can now put Brisbane, Paris, and LA all in the same sentence. What other context would you be able to put little, beautiful, but tiny, let's face it, kind of quaint and colloquial Brisbane in a sentence with global cities like that? So let's first take that and flip it and be like, this is a huge opportunity. But if I want to draw parallels or lines to this, I want to look at Barcelona. Barcelona was kind of the Brisbane of Europe before it got the Olympic Games in 1992. And the Olympic Games transformed it and made it a global city. Did you know that the beaches that are in Barcelona were built for the Olympics? You know, when you're sitting next to the ocean sipping your pina coladas and you see that beautiful W Hotel on the shoreline, that was also built for the Olympics. It has a lasting legacy and it put it on the global map. And I see Brisbane as being the Barcelona of the Olympic Games with Brisbane 2032.
That's an interesting comparison. We look forward to seeing how this is going to play. There's so much to come. Kate Campbell, I really appreciate your time on what's been a very busy day.
Thank you so much. Exciting times ahead.
A reminder, there's a lot to today's story, so for full coverage, go to the ABC News website. Headlines: Daly Cherry Evans has set the NRL alight, announcing that if he plays on in 2026, it won't be with Manly. The Seagulls have tabled a 2-year extension offer and are hoping he might change his mind. Melbourne's Max Gawn has defended Simon Goodwin after the coach revealed the skipper had been struggling with a personal issue after the loss to the Kangaroos. Gawn today told Melbourne Radio, "I love that the coach loves me. It shows that he cares." And 5-time NBL MVP Bryce Cotton is leaving the Wildcats after 9 seasons in Perth. I'm Patrick Stack. This is ABC Sport Daily, produced by Poppy Penny.
Discover more great ABC podcasts, live radio and exclusives on the ABC Listen app.